I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Happy Sunday morning, Scarlet Knights fans. Welcome to another episode of Night Watch. I am your host, Larry K. And yes, this is fresh off the debacle last night. Rutgers falls to number 8 Oregon, 56-10. I had an event go a little too long yesterday, and then I had a little bit of a headache, and so I didn't make it down to the game. I felt kind of bad about missing the tailgate and all that, but you know, this game, I could have told you early on when it was scheduled that it was a rough homecoming draw based on how the season had gone so far up to this point. I knew it wasn't going to go well. And I know sports fans, you know, they want something to cling to. There's some hope. You want to go in thinking, oh, you know, it's a big game. It's going to be a great atmosphere. And this is a big time, you know, big top 10 program. We got to go out there, and this is what we got to do to win. And that's what no one was out there saying we were going to win or predicting it, but you want to feel that way. I had no expectation or really semblance of hope that we were going to pull this game out. The way it went, though, was just an absolutely abysmal and embarrassing performance here. And we're going to talk about a few things. First off, I feel bad for the homecoming type people, you know, the people that don't normally go to the football games, don't really follow the team. They're just alumni. They usually go to homecoming. They look forward to seeing old friends. And while they're down in New Brunswick and they're having a few drinks at the tailgate and they're doing this and that, they wind up going to the game. I heard from people who were coworkers, you know, oh, I'm at the game. Are you here? Are you going to the game? I know you go to the games. People who from law school and other places taking pictures. Oh, homecoming. What a shame. What a shame to go to your alma mater's, you know, homecoming from all three campuses, all three university, you know, campuses and all the campuses around New Brunswick. And you go and you congregate and it's a fun Saturday. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's about to hit you. And you just get embarrassed and steamrolled. And you're like, is this what you guys do every Saturday? This is what you guys watch when you come to these games? It just sucks. And I know there was some talk, you know, this is the other thing. There was some talk on the, you know, the Rutgers rant and things. Well, would you rather go 6-6 and go to some crappy bowl game, or would you rather have an upset? And there's been a lot of talk around the Rutgers sphere that, well, either Greg's got to have a good season or he's got to pull this big upset. You know, we need an upset. And I just want to speak on that for a minute. Even if they had upset number 8 Oregon yesterday, the team, I mean, maybe we would have got on the right track. It would have been a big win. Don't get me wrong. It would have been awesome. Could have rushed the field on a top 10 win like that. Would have been great to beat a program like that, and you still have room to get back on track this season. But overall, if you're telling me you'd rather upset a team and miss the postseason or get to the postseason, you got to opt for the postseason. Here's why. Because everybody keeps referencing this 2006 thing, and this also goes to something else we're going to get into in a minute and segues into it with Schiano. We got to stop. We got to stop putting that one game in 2006 against Louisville on a pedestal. We got to stop. And there's a reason for that. Not because that season was terrible, not because that season wasn't indicative of anything Schiano could do. That season as a whole showed that Schiano could build a program from a bottom feeder to a legitimate contender in some way. We get up to number 7 in the country. That's a serious achievement. And the win over Louisville was a crown jewel in that journey to an extent, right? But people forget. It wasn't just the night. You might remember the night because you were in school or you were a young alumni and it was euphoric and you went out and partied and your roommate burned their couch in the street and it was so crazy. And I remember I was jumping around. I was watching on TV, jumping around my living room as a kid. Well, young 20s. But it wasn't just the game in a vacuum, guys. You're not going to get the same. It doesn't carry the same weight just to have one random upset in a terrible season as it did in 2006. There are two things about 2006 on each end that you really need to think about when you're discussing it, in terms of Schiano, in terms of the program, in terms of what you want to emulate, in terms of what could make up for all the struggles now. One, in 2006, we were undefeated going into that Louisville game. We were undefeated. And winning that game catapulted us to a much better ranking and gave us hope that we could win the Big East and we could actually contend on some meaningful level, maybe get a New Year's Six bowl. So it wasn't just the win. It was what the win symbolized and meant in the grander scheme of the season at that moment. We were undefeated teams going against each other, and that was a huge victory to keep us on top. But on the other hand, about 2006, what people don't talk about enough is that you lose to Cincinnati the next week. You lose to Cincinnati, you beat Syracuse, and then you lose to West Virginia in that epic 3 OT game. West Virginia, who you just can't beat. And you don't even walk away with the conference title. You don't walk away with the New Year's Six Bowl. Now, I'm not knocking 2006. I'm not knocking that memory or that game, but the way people hang their hat on it as if it was we won the Rose Bowl or we won the title in the conference. We didn't get a share of the title until 2012 under Flood. I'm just saying. I didn't go to the game. I wasn't really disappointed that I didn't go. I didn't expect anything, but even if it was an upset, it's not the same level of something like 2006 for more than one reason. And 2006 in and of itself wasn't some grand pinnacle that you can hang your hat on for the rest of your life. It wasn't a Stanley Cup if you're a hockey fan. It wasn't a Super Bowl ring if you're an NFL fan. It wasn't a World Series if you're an MLB fan. It was just a night, a great win, a season that actually was a great season for Rutgers. The highest ranking, memorable, showed what this coach could do, showed where this program could be, but actually had a lot of disappointments in and of itself. Let's stop hanging our hat on that all the time. You can't live with that for it's going to be 20 years next year. Next season will mark 20 years since then. You can't hang your hat on that for all of eternity. It's enough already. Great night, great memory. I had a great night in memory in 2014 against Michigan. That season, I thought, because it ended the way it did against crushing UNC, similar to how 2006, you win the bowl, fine. But it's not like that was a pinnacle of something. So, the going into this game in general, just so much going on. Now let's talk about the game itself, and then we'll talk about my general feelings on the trajectory of the program and all these other variables. So Rutgers loses 56-10. It was just an absolute drubbing, an embarrassment. Oregon, 750 yards. 750 yards. Think about that. 335 passing, 415 rushing. I'm going to say it again. 415 rushing, okay? They averaged 12.5 yards a play, 29 first downs. What? And we ran more plays. We ran 69 plays. They ran 60 plays. And they averaged 12.5 a play, 415 on the ground. Guys, you can't be a respectable Northeastern hard-nosed Jersey football team at home on homecoming and allow yourself to get ran on to the tune of 415 yards. What are we doing? We had 123 yards on the ground, respectable, if it was a normal game, which it wasn't. 79 yards through the air, just an abysmal day. And this is something, look, Ethan Kaliakmanis has been very good for us. I still think there are things he can do this season to make it memorable, to leave his mark. He's already left his mark in many respects. Illinois last year was heroic. Too bad it didn't end properly. But in the last few weeks since we've been in the conference schedule, he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been elite. Ethan Kaliakmanis has not risen to the moment where he is doing, like, going into this season. We knew going into this season that Rutgers was going to struggle on defense and that the offense was going to have to make up for it. And that means the offense was going to have to live up to its utmost potential. in several games in order to win those games, 30, 40 points. And to do that, Ethan Kaliakmanis was going to have to take advantage of the skill players that we had on the perimeter. The line has been okay. I wouldn't say amazing, but the line hasn't been bad on offense. And he's going to have to make the throws consistently and constantly, and he hasn't been able to do that in the conference schedule. He's made some throws. He's made throws, but he hasn't made the throws at a consistent enough clip to make the offense truly elite where we needed it to be in order to circumvent what the defense was going to do to us. And you look at Ethan's stats yesterday, 8 of 25 for 79 yards, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. That's just not good enough. It never will be. KJ Duff, only 3 catches, 41 yards. Sheffield, 3 catches, 26 yards. Ian Strong, only 1 catch for 6 yards, got dinged up. You hope that's better. I don't know. Moore for Oregon, 15 of 20 for 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. I noticed, he didn't look to be honest, didn't look as elite as some of the other guys we've played, to be honest. But he was good enough. And when he threw the ball downfield with some of those receivers who were just absolute beasts, Sadiq, just a beast of a receiver. When he threw the ball downfield to them, it was completely where it needed to be. But the guys were wide open. And he placed the ball where he needed to place it, and he did what he had to do. Whittington running the ball, 11 carries for 125 yards, averaging 11.42 touchdowns. I mean, a lot of that probably came on that first run he had on third down where he gets out and then goes all the way down the field and just weaves through our secondary and just scores the touchdown. That's when you kind of knew there's just an elite level of play here that Rutgers is not going to be able to catch up to or keep up with at all. But just a brutal drubbing at home. And here's why it hurts more. Look, I never thought, even at the beginning of the season, even if we were having an excellent season, even if up to this point we were undefeated, even if up to this point we had only lost 1 Big Ten game, I would have probably toughed it out and got to the game last night just to show support. And we probably still would have lost this game. I mean, I know actually we definitely would have lost this game. The talent disparity, where the programs are, which plane they're on. I mean, it's just not, we're not going to win a game like this. That's just not going to happen. I mean, I'm sorry. Not the way things are right now. But the drubbing after going winless in conference so far against teams we could have actually beaten had we not screwed up one way or the other. It's devastating because we thought we were past the embarrassment stage, right? Go back to the Ash era, and you're losing these games to Michigan, you're losing these games to Ohio State, and you're losing them this way. You're getting just ran out of the Big Ten. You're getting laughed at. You're getting embarrassed on your home field. You have no shot. It's like you're an FCS team going up against, an FBS team. It's just a joke. But Schiano comes in, and, Wisconsin was rough last year. And that's why that was the first hint that, what's going on? We thought we were a level above, but this was worse. Schiano comes in, and you start playing Ohio State a little closer. 2 years ago, Ohio State at home. Some people, even in Ohio State world, think they were in trouble in the first half, and I think they were. Arguably, you win that game with better quarterback play. They say quarterback play. Gavin did throw a touchdown, and then, Tyreen Powell was out, so he wasn't there to set the edge, and they come right back and score. The pick six, you could put that on a number of factors. A lot of people put it on the quarterback. Fine if you want to. He wasn't good enough. I think with Ethan, maybe you win that game. Michigan, you go into the overtime a couple years ago. And then last year, Michigan pulls away, sure, but it was after that pick six late in the first half, So there are games where you still look like you belong on the field, even if you're beat. And even if you're beaten convincingly, you still feel like you belong on the field. This season, this wasn't a one-off, number one, because we've lost every conference game so far. So that already feels like a step back. Like I thought we were going to win some of these toss-up 50-50 games. I thought there was this pipeline Greg Schiano kept talking about, right? There's a pipeline. And we're trying to fill the pipeline. And we're getting there. We're going to get there. Even though when Brian Fonseca asked them where there is no there. But whatever. We're going to get there. Figuratively, abstractly, whatever. And there was some feeling of a trajectory that, okay, last year, which I thought was a huge missed opportunity, and I'm 100% right. Rutgers should have won 8 games, arguably 9 games last year. That should have been a much different year. At least should have beaten Kansas State in the bowl game the way it was going the first half. It was a huge, huge, huge missed opportunity. But this year, you think, okay, that was a missed opportunity. This schedule's much tougher, much tougher. We lost our defensive coordinator. It's going to be tough, but we will at least win a couple, at least 1 out of 3 games we can compete in the Big Ten, which were the first 3 games in the schedule in the Big Ten. And, we're going to lose to Oregon, whatever. But no, we lose all 3 in crazy fashion. Just all of them had a different reason why we lost, and none of them were good. That's after last season with the epic coaching blunder in Illinois. I'm not going to turn the page and just forget about it because you can't. You got to look at the body of work here. Then you have Oregon at home on homecoming, and you get embarrassed to the tune of a Chris Ash era, drubbing, where we just had no hope at all, where people weren't even going in the stadium anymore. And that's why this is so devastating, because taken within the entire body of work, it's embarrassing enough in a vacuum. But you put it in the entire body of work, and it's that much more disheartening and that much more just, devastating to the fan base and to commentators, anybody watching it, because it's within this body of work where you're looking to see an advancement. You're looking to see a pipeline building. You're looking to see an upward trajectory. And actually what you're seeing is a downward spiral now, starting with the missed opportunities last season and going into what this debacle that this season has been. It's just a downward spiral. And there's a lot of people out there, and I want to address 2 things. So first, they're talking about it's only the money, it's only the NIL. That's the reason. How can anybody win with this level of NIL? And 2, there are people saying, hey, you got to fire Schiano right now, get rid of him, get him out. He can't do anything. Let's address the NIL first. Going into this season, yes, we knew we had to do better with NIL. We knew Pat Hobbs didn't do anything with NIL. We know Kelly's in and Tate, they're out there trying to restructure and actually have a group institutionalized effort to conquer and do better with NIL. But we heard that Greg had figured out a way to do it himself to some extent. It's not ideal. It's not like he's stretched too thin. But unlike Steve Peichel, who was looked at as like, well, he didn't even bother, Greg went out and did. He raised some money. Hey, he got some guys in. There were some guys he passed on. They weren't guys he wanted. They weren't a cultural fit. They weren't a scheme fit, whatever it was. He went out and got these guys. These are guys that love football, guys that want to be here, guys that fit our mold, guys that fit our schematic, approach, guys that do all that. And him saying, well, the pipeline's starting to get full. You're seeing his words. You're seeing the pipeline start to fill out. The pipeline's starting to get full. Now, all of a sudden, when you're losing, a lot of it attributable to on the field coaching issues or schematic issues, some personnel issues, but not when you're, okay, Iowa's a little bit higher than you, I guess, Minnesota. Come on. Washington's higher than you, but you were in the game with them last year. There were reasons why you could have competed at least. I get it. Maybe all these teams have more NIL, but the talent on paper on the field wasn't in the way that it was like, oh my God, you have no chance, even business, even being on the field. Now, Oregon, yes, of course. And that would have been the case with or without an NIL. Oregon would have been way higher than us, talent-wise. But how do you go from the pipeline is almost full, guys, it's getting there, it's full, to we have no pipeline. We have nothing in the pipes. We got nothing anywhere. We got nothing in reserve. We got nothing on the field. We got nothing. We got no NIL. How do you expect us to have a pipe when we got no NIL, bro? You said the pipeline was getting full. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Now, I think there's probably some truth to both. I think the pipeline was getting more full. I think there was some talent on this team. And I think the loss of Joe Harris-Simiak, the lack and the swing and miss on a couple recruiting classes, 20 and 21 carried this team a little bit, but 22, 23, you're not seeing these guys in 22, 23 pan out the way you wanted to. So there's part of it. You lose guys to attrition, you lose guys to NIL, but I don't know what goes on in the back rooms, what they asked for, what you were willing to give them, what you weren't, who you passed on, who you went after. I don't know. All I know is that the guys on the field, they're not cutting it for a few reasons. But don't tell me that everything was, building, and then all of a sudden you don't have anything. It seems like you're losing for other reasons, for a myriad of complex reasons. And some people that want to find an out, want to find a scapegoat, want to make themselves feel better, say, oh, it's just NIL. How could you ever win without NIL? NIL is part of it, guys. It's part of it, but it's not the whole story. There's more going on here. You move on for, one of the best things I think that happened in Schiano 2.0 was he decided to go, away from this youth movement in the coaching room and go out and get proven guys, put an emphasis on the coaching as opposed to the recruiting, at the onset, especially at the high school level, because things changed. Well, you lose some of the classes there when these guys are trying to hit the runway and get going with their recruiting. But you make a good decision, especially on offense and things. These coaches are more solid. You have a lot of good things now, especially 2 years ago. The coaching staff was really, really good. And Mike Broadbent did something on that where he started talking about where different coaches from 2023 were, where they are now. They're in the NFL. They're all over. But you get some solid coaches. And one of the biggest things that he did to turn the corner in 2.0 initially was he sent Rob Smith packing, and he brought in Joe Harrisimiak. And I've been on this since before the season started. People were telling me, oh, they're underestimating us. This is going to be a decent season. We have this, we have that. And I kept saying, I'm worried about that defense. I'm worried about the personnel, and I'm worried about the coordinator. I'm worried about that defense. Rob Smith, when he was here in his first stint of Schiano 2.0, the defense was not looking good. It was looking soft. It was looking unimaginative. It was not looking up to par. One of the best things Schiano did was jettison Rob Smith and bring in Joe Harrisimiak. We noticed an immediate improvement, and our best couple of years when the trajectory looked to be going up, and it's a shame with last year with the injuries and then some of the blunders. We had a better complementary football team. Even though the offense was struggling and we needed a quarterback, we needed better personnel, you saw some cohesion with the overall football team. Joe Harrisimiak leaves. You can't knock him. It's nobody's fault. He leaves to take a head coaching position. That should be a nod on your program. Your guy does so well that he gets a head coaching job. He leaves, and we're trying to seek out a coach. And I've talked about this on this program before. We're seeking out a coach, but our pool of candidates is limited by the fact that Greg wants to know whoever it is he's hiring and have some prior relationship with him, or through people he knows from New Jersey or wherever else wants to have some relationship with him. And B, rumor has it out there in coaching circles that Greg is a very difficult person to work for, that is extremely demanding on these guys. And if you're going to be demanding on guys and you're getting constant and consistent results, then maybe, you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen type of thing. You want to work for a winner, you gotta act like a winner. But if your results are not there to the level that you're riding guys, well, maybe it's arbitrary. Maybe the pressure you put on the guys and the demand you put on them is arbitrary if it's not actually producing results. Maybe you could tweak it and not ride them so hard, but invest somewhere else or put your time and effort somewhere else, and maybe the results would be better, right? Because you're not necessarily getting the most out of them by riding them so hard. It's arbitrary. And now you have candidates who A, don't want to even work for you anyway. And B, you're limiting yourself and who you can hire because you only want to hire somebody you work with. So we wind back up with Rob Smith. And I never thought that was a good hire. I never thought that was going to work out great for us. And it hasn't. Now, yes, you got players that aren't up to par, this and that. And, you look at a guy like Kaj Sanders, the guy has not played good at all. He's been really bad. And you can say, well, it's chicken or the egg at that point. Is he just not talented? Are these guys just not at the right talent level for the Big Ten? Or is there some schematic or coaching issue that's stunting their growth or holding them back? It's probably a combination of both. This was a guy who was highly sought after. This was a solid recruit for us. This is a guy who got in as a young player and showed some flashes of promise. And he's just absolutely terrible this year. You got to look at coaching too, because it's widespread. It's not just one guy or two guys. It's all these guys that you bring in. Jet Elad, all the filings. He's going to be an NFL player. We're paying him this much money. You can't let him miss out on his year. Some of that's embellishment. Some of that's, he's trying to file a court case and he's trying to win it. And I'm sorry for my stumbling and my eloquence is lacking early on a Sunday morning after that shellacking by Oregon, but he's trying to embellish it, fine. But he hasn't been as advertised on the field. Now, either that kid just can't do it or they're not finding ways to make it happen. Now, can you pull a rabbit out of a hat? Can you make a miracle out of something that's not there? No, right? Like some of these edge rushers, O'Neal, Weaver, they're playing at a lower level. Props to Dave Anderson. I heard him on TKR, and they were saying, um, he was playing up against tight ends and personnel he shouldn't have been going up against at a lower level already, not elite tackles. And so his numbers were inflated. Fine, but find ways to put him in position to do something with the skill set he does have. And it's not going to win all the time. It's not going to beat Oregon. It's not going to produce a record number of sacks because you're limited by the talent. Fine. But know who you're bringing in and know why you're bringing them in based on your team, your scheme, and your schedule. And B, once you get them in, try to find the best way to maximize their skill set and reshuffle if you have to try to maximize it even more. And I'm not seeing that anywhere on this thing. Now, here's something. First, I'm going to tell you what I think is going on with the overall trajectory and what we're looking at. And next, I'm going to tell you how this season could be saved, this trajectory could be saved, and how it feeds into point A. So, number one, where is this program right now? This program is in a really tough position, and the wheels are starting to come off. It's a sad reality. This is 2025. This is not 50 years ago where you have this long time to build up a team where you might have ebbs and flows or down years, up years, and getting guys ready. The other thing is, if we had guys in the wings ready to step into starting roles next year across the board, where it's like, hey, just wait on our younger guys to get into place, that'd be one thing. But especially on the offensive side of the ball, and who knows what's going to happen with some of our most elite players after a season like this, where you don't feel you're in a position to succeed, to win, to be coached properly, where you're in a situation where all of that tough love and all of that hard work is not paying off. And when you have the opportunity to make money elsewhere and you have the opportunity to go somewhere to position yourself for the next level or something, or just to get a change of scenery because you put your time in here, when you have those opportunities, who knows if the younger guys on this offense are even going to stick around, and the older guys are probably gone regardless. So you don't have some elite offense waiting in the wings. The defense, you hope you can go out and retool in the transfer portal. You hope the last class and that looked pretty good, you hope they start to backfill those roles and get better. But when you lose momentum, it's harder to bring guys in, both at the high school and the transfer portal level. And it's harder to retain your own guys because Schiano said many times, that's both. You got to do both. It's harder to keep your own guys, and it's harder to go out and get guys. And so when a program loses momentum that drastically, when a program loses that much steam, when the shine is wore off that badly from a head coach, it's really hard to recover. So you combine last year, you could have had 8 wins. You could have had 9 wins. You could have done something special. You could have won your bowl game at the bare minimum. You could have shown something more than you did. This year was always going to be a struggle with the schedule, but it wasn't necessarily going to be this bad. Winless in conference, winless. So you combine those two things and you really start to lose a lot of momentum, and people start to really look at your programs with skepticism. Can this guy get it done? Is this the right philosophy? Will he even be around? Is it in turmoil? The fans are pissed off. Everything just becomes compounded, and it hurts the momentum of a program, and it's really tough. And this is all going on while the university is trying to build out some kind of NIL fund and get the ball rolling at a higher level. It's hard to do when you don't have confidence in the on-the-field product or the trajectory of the program. So that's difficult. Now, what do? There are people out here saying, well, does Kelly's in? She's a young AD. She wants to make her mark. Tate just can't take the losing. Do they just jettison this guy? I don't. Just because I'm being critical of Schiano right now, I will say right now, I'm not calling for him to be fired. I am not calling for some coaching change, epic regime change at Rutgers. There's too many ingrained systems he's got in place and that are off the field. Everything from the, cultural branding to the NIL inroads that we have made to the relationships with people around the state, both in the football world and the financial world. You can't move off that quickly, in my personal opinion. I don't work there. They might have their own ideas. I'm not calling for that. But changes need to be made to the coaching staff, and changes need to be made in philosophy. And time is running out for me not to be calling for a change. Because I understand Indiana got a ton of NIL, and I understand other teams are too. But there's teams that are playing much more respectably out there. Look at UCLA. I get it. They have a lot of talent, but they changed their coach, and look what they do. There are teams out there that are doing – we can do better with what we have. Don't tell me it's just NIL. We're not playing even up to our potential, even with the NIL issues. Okay? And remember, my standards. I wanted to go 6-6 and get to a bowl game and get a bowl victory. That was my goal for this year. So it's not like I have some lofty, unrealistic, inobjective goals that can't be met. That's not what's going on here, just to be clear. But Richie O'Leary said, actually, on the TKR post-game show, it might be less likely that Greg is forced out or fired. The buyout's crazy. It's not the right time. He has a lot of relationships. But perhaps what Zinn does, or the administration does do, is says, Greg, you're going to have to go outside your comfort zone. You're going to have to go outside the box with your coaching hires. You're going to have to hire people. We'll spend the money. We'll get the money for you. But you're going to have to go out there, and you're going to have to hire coaches that are more up to the task. You can't just stay within your comfort zone. And maybe you have to switch your philosophy a little bit to attract better guys. And I could see that happening at the end of this season when the postmortem is conducted, et cetera. And once you get those guys in place, you have to get money. And this is going to be on the administration and him and whoever else, us, get the money to go out in the transfer portal and get guys that can compete at this level to fill out this defense and replenish this offense and attack things at a much more, calculated level next season, because this has been an absolute disaster so far this season. But don't tell me that we don't belong in the Big Ten. Don't tell me that NIL is all you can blame. Before it was NIL, when we lost a game like this, everybody's excuse was, oh, his uncle had a bag of money. This guy's handler had a bag of money. Oh, they got a new car, huh? Oh, he put money in his pocket. Oh, and it did happen. And NIL is not at that top and pinnacle of the college football world now. But there's always an excuse when we start losing, or we lose a recruit or anything in this fan base, that, oh, it's the money. They just have a bag of money and now they have NIL. Stop with the excuses. That's part of it. But no one's asking to be national champions. No one's asking to beat Oregon and upset them randomly in the middle of October. No one's asking for that. What we're asking for is respectable seasons and respectable showings on the field, to win a couple of our 50-50 toss-up games, and to have respectable showings and not be absolutely annihilated and embarrassed on our home field on homecoming. So don't conflate the expectations with the realities. Don't act like everybody who's complaining wants to just beat the hell out of Oregon and win a national championship. We know we don't have NIL to do that. But we have enough NIL to be more respectable than we have been this season so far. That's undeniable. You can't argue that. And there's always been that money excuse. And don't tell me we don't belong at this level and all these other things. Look at Miami. Miami was ranked number 2 until they just dropped the game. And they were never going to go deep into the college football play. In my humble opinion, and Miami fans get real mad at me and whatever else, and I could eat crow if they do, but they're an ACC team. We beat them in a bowl game. We beat them in the Pinstripe Bowl 2 years ago. And they're number 2. So, I mean, I know it's a different conference too, but don't tell me we don't belong in the echelon. We don't. No. We can hang with, not Oregon, but we can hang with the other 3 teams we played in the Big Ten so far this year. The key is you got to find a way to win. And we haven't done it. So don't give me these excuses that we're just so far away. Why would you ever think that? No. I know better. I knew we were going to lose this game, but that doesn't change the way we lost. That doesn't change the critiques. That doesn't change the criticisms or anything like that. Now let me reveal the only way, in my opinion, and I think if you make a bowl game either way, which I think is unlikely at this point, I told you that 2 weeks ago, any bowl win could save the season to some extent. But here's the only way From Night Watch, from Larry K. This is my proposal. This is how you save the season. This is the big reveal. The way you save the season, it's still possible. It's not likely. It's not likely, but it's possible. Because it hasn't happened yet. Anything's possible, right? Beat Purdue next week at a noon kickoff. Beat Purdue. Beat Maryland or pull an upset and beat Illinois. One or the other. I don't care which one. Now you've got 5 wins. Penn State comes into Piscataway, last game of the season. Their season is a disaster by their standards. They fired their coach. You don't know who's going to be in the transfer portal. You don't know who's going to bother playing. You don't know what kind of shape that team is going to be in. It might not matter for any reason for them. Even a bowl game for them might not matter since they had eyes on the playoffs at minimum. Beat Penn State. Beat Penn State for the first time since you've been in the Big Ten and punch your ticket to a bowl game and then go win that bowl game wherever it is, probably the Bronx. Go out and do that, and the season in hindsight, we will forget some of the pain that was inflicted on us earlier in the year. Win 2 more games, probably Purdue and Maryland, win 2 more games, and then beat Penn State and go to a bowl game. Am I saying it's going to happen? No. Am I saying it's likely? No. But I'm saying that's the way you save the season at this point, in my opinion. That's how you do it. That's Larry K's recipe for an anecdote to all of this terribleness that has occurred to us this year. And by the way, if you beat Penn State in that state at the end of the season, do not rush that field. If you rush that field, you look like the biggest amateur clowns in the world. Do not. If you were able to beat a limping, coachless, devastated Penn State team, just stay your ass in your seat, clap, and go home. I don't think that's likely, guys, but that is my prescribed way to save this season and the trajectory and feelings around this program. Win 2 more games, win that game at the end of the year, punch your bowl ticket, win a bowl, and this thing will not be as painful come Christmas time. That's it. Guys, if you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button. Support Night Watch. I'm looking for sponsors. You have a small company, you have a local company, anything you want to, hop on with me, talk about your product, you want me to plug it, we can talk. I'm looking for sponsors just as a friendly gesture. If you like the show, you support the show, contact me. Let's talk about it. Otherwise, click the join button, become a member. That's a way you could support and become a sponsor at a much lower level for, coffee change per month. But remember, if you're watching on YouTube, this show is available as an audio podcast anywhere you get your podcast, any major podcast platforms. And if you're listening on the audio version, come on over to YouTube, click subscribe, and join the video version on YouTube. Night Watch Larry K. Just search it on YouTube or Google to find the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Also, head over to thecollegehuddle.com. A lot of great stuff going on over there. I have a page over there. I've been slow to start writing and things over there, but they do a great job. And there's a ton of other creators for a ton of other teams on thecollegehuddle.com. So go check that out. And I'll be with you guys this week. We'll get ready for Purdue. And, keep your head up any way you can. Enjoy the nice weather. Larry K is